So one thing I wanted to mention, this is called, I'm bringing you in for career stories. This is part of graduate and postdoctoral success. We call it GPS on how to navigate your career, whether you're at UTSA or you're going to make the jump. And the important thing is that in our little chat beforehand, that networking and meeting people is super important. So this is a way with career stories to help you meet people that maybe you would not have met before and get into that networking mindset. So this is an informal process. Because it is a small group, please feel free to keep your cameras on if you'd like. Our speaker will be the square that will be the most visible. But if you could hold your questions until the very end, or if you would like to type them in the chat, that's fine. But I would like to give Kesley the opportunity to share her presentation. And because I do not know her very well, I've invited in Dan to give an introduction. So I'm going to hand it over to Dan.
Thank you. My name is Dan David, and I am the director of the Masters in Business program, and I was also one of Kesley's faculty while she was in our program. Kesley Smith is a graduate of the Masters in Business program here in the UTSA College of Business and has substantial experience in business strategy, marketing, business development, corporate communications, and a lot more. So I think one of the things that you are going to take away from this is the value of leveraging experience and education, because she worked full-time while she was going to school, the value of leveraging both of those together and what this can do as you advance your career. Today, she's a certified digital and social media marketer, and so she's a regular speaker and also a content contributor. Today, she's the Director of Business Development and Corporate Communications at Greenleaf Book Group, where she spearheads their innovative initiatives to expand their presence both online and offline. And she manages all of their marketing initiatives, their business growth initiatives, their corporate communications, their strategic partnerships, and strengthens the brand awareness to drive revenue and growth. And so it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Kesley Smith. Kesley, thank you for being here.
It is a pleasure. Thank you for that warm introduction. So I'll go ahead and share my screen and get into the presentation. Like Tracy said, if you guys have questions, please hold them till the end. I would love to discuss and answer anything with you, but just don't, so I don't get thrown off track, I'm gonna save them till the end here. All right, so let's get started. All right, here is my presentation. All right. All right, so here is my career story. My name is Kesley Smith, as Dr. David and Tracy said. I'm the current Director of Business Development and Corporate Communications at Greenleaf Book Group, which is a book publisher here in Austin, Texas. And let's get into the presentation. And so here is my email and my LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me, shoot me an email if you have any questions or if you want any tips, going into either a career in marketing or whatever have you. I'm happy to help in any way or form. So the early years, so I'm actually Canadian. I was born in Calgary, Alberta. My dad works in the oil and gas business. So I moved to London, England when I was 6. I attended ACS Agam, which is an international school in England. And I spent 7 years there, came to Texas and went to middle school here in Texas. That was a huge change because just everything was so different from London, but I moved here to Texas in the middle of 6th grade. And then I went to middle and high school in Katy, Texas. And then I decided to pursue San Antonio because one, my sister was currently attending UTSA, and B, I really liked the campus. I liked what the school had to offer. And so I decided to pursue my undergrad at UTSA, which was a Bachelor of Communication in Public Relations. And then I did attend grad school. I did the Masters of Business program that Dr. David oversees. And that was, a great opportunity. I knew I wanted to pursue an advanced degree because while I was finishing up my capstones for undergrad, I was still really interested in both, the business and the PR marketing facilities, but I didn't really know what my next step was. I wanted to pursue a different degree, a more advanced degree. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. And I remember I was in a PR capstone when Dr. David came to talk to the class. And the main thing that I was concerned about was I was working full time. I had held a bunch of different jobs over undergrad, but I had started a full-time position in my last semester of undergraduate school. And so I wanted that experience, but I didn't want to stop working. I was first going to pursue the executive level MBA program. But one, I didn't have enough experience for that at the time, because that's for more, they have in that program, they have more experience than I currently had at the time. And I didn't want to stop working completely. And so Dr. David came in and he made the program really attractive to me, because he was like, it's a cohort program. It's going to be very collaborative, but it's also only going to be a little over a year. So it won't be the full 2 years. And that was really attractive to me, because I was like, you know what, that will give me an opportunity to pursue an advanced degree, be able to work at the same time, and then really get started in my professional life without spending 2 full years in graduate school. So moving on, so during undergrad, I'm the kind of person where I absolutely thrive when I have a ton going on. I love to do a bunch of different things at once. And during undergrad, I was really deciding what I wanted to do. I first came to UTSA as an engineering major, and then I switched to English, and then I switched to business. I really was trying to figure out what my niche was, and where I was passionate, and where my skill set was. And so I held a bunch of different jobs. I knew I needed experience. So the top thing that, my dad and my mentors told me, about going to school and pursuing a career outside is you're gonna need to have experience along with your education. So for starters, I held an internship at Bark PR, which is this little tab here. And I was a PR and marketing associate. So I worked on a bunch of different PR campaigns, did a bunch of different marketing initiatives, went to a bunch of different events, did event campaign management and things like that. Learned a bunch of different opportunities working from there. And I decided also I wanted to be more involved in school and clubs. And so I joined the National Student Advertising competition team. And so I did that during, I believe it was my junior year of undergrad, if I'm not mistaken. It was my junior year. And so I joined that team and I learned all about, advertising. We got to do hands-on experience with an actual client called Snapple. And then we went and traveled to Texas Tech and presented a plans book. We had to make an entire plans book, an entire year campaign for Snapple. And me being, really interested in marketing and PR, I worked on the marketing and PR side of that plans book. And I was also selected to be on the presentation team. I really like, speaking and going to events and speaking to audiences and things like that. So that gave me really good experience there. And it also gave me hands-on experience working on a real client. So we ended up doing that. We ended up actually placing in that competition. It was awesome, really good experience, gave up my entire spring break to work on that plans book, but I didn't, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because it really taught me such great experience, grounded experience. We didn't really get any help from a supervisor. They were allowed to, look over the plans book and advise, but, the students had to do the entire thing themselves. So while I was also, while I was doing that, so during that time doing NSAC, as it was shortened to, I met a bunch of members on the Paisano, because a lot of them were in the NSAC team. And one of the girls who was doing the marketing was graduating that year. And so they were looking for someone to take over the marketing for the Paisano. Gladly took up that role with everything else I had going on. I was working, a full-time job at that time at Skyward Media Group, which I'll get into in a little bit. But I was also hosting, weekly meetings at the Paisano, doing marketing capabilities for them. And that really helped me refine my marketing skills and work on like social media and managing a team and things like that. And also, in my in my final semester of undergrad, I was also an intern for Blue Star Contemporary. So the art studio in San Antonio, I was doing their social media marketing for a semester. That was a really great opportunity. Got to work with, again, you know, a real live client, and had to work with them, you know, on their website, their SEO. So I got to do a bunch of different things and really see how, you know, their company ran, and I got to, you know, run their entire social media campaigns. That gave me a lot of real world experience as well. And during my final semester, I got a job at Skyward Media Group, which was a digital marketing company in San Antonio that worked with commercial real estate clients. And so also commercial and, you know, KW San Antonio and clients like that. And so I had so many different responsibilities working with them. You know, I had to work on campaigns with realtors, help them, you know, with digital marketing strategies. And then I gave presentations to 500 plus realtors on, you know, how to utilize their marketing from a realtor standpoint, how to gain more leads, how to gain more sales, you know, show them how to optimize their websites, their social media, and a bunch of different things. And Skyward Media itself was working on revamping KW San Antonio, KW Bernie, and all of the subcategories with websites. So I was always coming up with, you know, helpful things for websites and what would make this more attractive for lead gen and things like that. So I got to learn web design, marketing. It was a pretty small team, and I was a senior senior digital marketing specialist. So I, again, got to work one-on-one with realtors, got to work with, you know, the big commercial teams, and then got to give presentations to all the new realtors. And then at their big, you know, they had monthly realtor meetings, which were, you know, over 500 people. I would get on stage, talk to them about marketing, talk to them about, you know, the new website, how to use it to their best advantage, and a bunch of other different things. Gave me a lot of real world experience. So I was doing that during my final semester. I also held a job previous to that called Heavy. So that was the company that owns Spark PR. So when I finished my internship there, I transitioned over to them and was working during school as a PR and marketing associate. So I got to work on, you know, similar things like campaigns and doing websites for clients and things like that. And since that was, you know, an internship at the time, and then that transitioned into, you know, a part-time job, I wasn't making, you know, enough money to sustain, you know, rent and things like that. So I also was working as a timeshare sales agent. Don't hold that against me. So I did learn how to, I did learn a lot about sales and event management and, you know, event marketing and things like that while working there. So I worked there, you know, for 2 years while I was completing my junior and senior year, just, you know, for the extra cash on the side while I was interning and stuff like that. And then we ended up winning for INSAC, we ended up winning a silver Addy at the National Advertising Awards. So that's this picture here. And then in my PR capstone, we ended up working, you know, on a real world client as well. You know, we were asked to put together a complete presentation for the UTSA ring ceremony. And so we had to come up with an entire PR promotion plan, and my team actually won. You know, they picked ours to implement, and they implemented a bunch of our strategies moving forward. I also was in a PR capstone where my case study was chosen to be presented at an international business conference. That's that right picture here. And so just really immersed myself in a bunch of different capabilities in undergrad to really get a lot of experience under my belt, and really to beef up my resume. And so again, that's when Mr. David came into one of my PR capstones. I believe it was this one, this picture right here. And he gave the whole presentation on the Master of Business program. I was so like, this is what I need to be doing. Applied for the program, got VIP, you know, admission into the program. I was so excited about it. And so that's when we move on to graduate school. So like Dr. David said, I was working full-time during that program, which was extremely trying. I was working about 35 to 40 hours per week and then doing the full cohort program. So if I wasn't at work, I was at school, or I was in the leadership suites, or I was meeting groups. And me being the person that I am, I'm always group leader. I like to do things a certain way. I like to be the organizer. I like to lead projects. I loved during undergrad, I was group leader on everything. And during grad school, I was like, this is how we're going to do things. And everybody in my group was just like, cool. All right, let's do it. So during graduate school, that was such a blessing. And honestly, going into graduate school, I didn't know what I was going to expect. I didn't know I was going to meet so many amazing people. Prior to the people who hopped on this Zoom, I was talking to Dr. David and Tracy about meeting just the most amazing group of people. I met them first day orientation, and then we all ended up sitting together and we became just best friends, family throughout that entire cohort program. We did everything together. We studied together, went out together, and we still are best friends to this day. We still have a group chat that we text on all the time. So building those relationships during graduate school was such a blessing because I met so many incredible people in that cohort program. We all really became a family. And I know it's a little bit different for the people who are virtual right now. And, that is just something that I was so fortunate to was meeting so many amazing people in the graduate program. And even though we all came from different backgrounds, we were still working towards a common goal. Everybody in there wanted to advance themselves. They wanted to build on their portfolios. They wanted to build themselves up. And everybody was in there because we want to do more with our lives. We weren't just satisfied with one degree. We really wanted to build up, our resumes, really get that next degree and really take our careers to the next level. And so meeting so many people with that same goal, absolutely amazing. So during graduate school, hugely, hugely important to make those relationships. It was extremely trying working a full-time job because like I said, half the time I didn't sleep more than 3 hours a night. I lived with my sister at the time, and there were multiple times where she texted me asking me if I was alive because I hadn't come home or she hadn't seen me come home, or I'd come home at 3 a.m., be back out at 6, to meet with groups or to study or whatever. I'd be in the leadership suite studying until like 2 or 3, come home, come back at 6 to meet a group because some of us worked and we couldn't meet during regular times. We had to meet either really early or really, really late. And so trying to juggle those two things was hard. I'm not going to lie to you. In the orientation phase of things, Dr. David even said, this is a very, it's going to be a lot on your plate. We recommend you don't have jobs. And I was like, you know what? I have to have the experience. I want to land a managerial position after this. And so I'm going to do it. I'm going to work full time. I'm going to do this cohort. I ended up, maintaining a really strong GPA, and everything was worth it in the end. It just took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. And so during that graduate school program, I was promoted to senior digital marketing specialist at that company I was working at. So I was working, a ton of hours doing, a ton of speaking to realtors. I would meet with realtors at the office and build them a custom marketing campaign and things like that. And so I was able to apply a lot of real world knowledge to the MSB program, along with, the marketing strategies that Dr. David taught actually really resonated with me, and I was able to take them into my job position now and things like that. And the classes were so helpful in applying real world knowledge to my current position and, while I was working and things like that. So I strongly recommend having, strong education is so important, but experience as well. If you can't, maintain a full-time job during graduate school, intern or, do consulting and things like that. Really try to gain as much real world experience as you can, because it will only benefit you. So moving into that. So while I was doing grad school, like I said, I was doing a full-time course load, full-time job. But then also during that time, I wanted to have the most competitive edge that I could. So I obtained relevant certifications. Actually, Dr. David hooked me up with a couple extra classes I could take just to gain knowledge in the digital marketing and social media space. So on top of doing our cohort program, I actually took like some additional social media and digital marketing courses that were offered outside the cohort. So I added to that, and they offered, Google Analytics certifications at the end of the semester. And so I did a lot of those certifications. I did a ton of networking. So even if you think that you have a strong resume and you don't really need to practice it, that, practice as much as you can, because the more you interview and the more you network, the more comfortable you're going to get at it. Even if you apply for a job that you're not going to take, that you think you're overqualified for, still go on the interview, because all that's going to do is give you real world practice in interviewing. So beef up your resume as much as you can. Like I said, if you're not working, try and get an internship, try and get certifications in the field that you want to go into, and take courses online, watch videos, read books in that, in that capability, because the more knowledge that you have to apply to your resume, the stronger of a competitive edge you're going to have. So when you're deciding about a postgraduate career, the first thing you want to think about is, what am I passionate about? So although working with real estate was extremely, extremely beneficial, I love doing it, I just wasn't passionate about real estate. I didn't have the passion for the work to pursue that after my master's degree. So it was great for, giving me experience and giving me that kind of stepping stone, but I knew I wanted to do more. I knew I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to be really passionate about the work I was doing. I wanted to be passionate for the industry. I wanted to be challenged daily. Not that I wasn't at my, old position, but I wanted to wear more hats. I wanted to do more. I wanted to handle a lot of projects, and I wanted to have a voice. I wanted to lead initiatives. I wanted to manage a team. Where I was working was pretty small, so I did have, a couple people under me, but I really wanted to be a leader that I could, continuously grow and learn from my team and things like that. I wanted to do a lot more with business strategy. I was doing a lot with marketing, social media, and web development and things like that, but I wanted to do even more. I wanted to do leadership. I wanted to do analytics. I wanted to do PR. I wanted to do a bunch of different things. And then, innovation, creativity, ideation is so important to me. So I wanted a role that combines all of those attributes. And where can I continuously grow and learn? So continuous education is so important to me, and it should be really important to you too. So the average CEO reads 100 books a year. They are constantly evolving, constantly learning, and you should always be in a state of continuous learning, because there's always going to be someone or something that knows more than you. And there is always something that you can be better at. And so even if you are, an absolute rock star in your field, learn new skills, take on novel skills. The more you have under your belt, the more successful you're going to be. And so going into a company, you also want to work somewhere that enforces you to have thought leadership, that really values you as a person and wants you to evolve as much as you want yourself to evolve. So thought leadership opportunities. Does your company, give you opportunities to speak at events? If you want to. I know some people don't like public speaking, but contribute articles and things like that. At my current position, I've contributed articles to Inc. and to outside publications and a lot of business spaces. And, I've spoken at events like Social Media Week in Austin and the Innovation Festival in Austin as well. I've spoken at events in Denver. And it's just, to build up that thought leadership platform makes you just a stronger candidate moving forward. And it helps you, with not only, your current position, but with, your own involvement as a professional as well. So you also want to work for a company with values that are synonymous with yours. So when you're going on interviews and you're taking on a bunch of different interviews, it's really important to notice what the culture is at that company and what are their core values and things like that. So just consider that when you're moving on into your next phase. So landing the job. So I got the job at Greenleaf Book Group right after actual graduation, and I moved here to Austin. And so this is basically what I do on a day-to-day basis. Dr. David went over this in the beginning, but I manage all company marketing initiatives. So I manage social media, the website, advertising, digital marketing, PR, content. Anything you can think of that is company marketing is under my jurisdiction. So I'm amplifying brand awareness for both the flagship company, the imprint. So in book publishing, an imprint is basically a trade name in which a book is published under. So publishing companies have multiple imprints that cater to different fields and different different capabilities and things like that. And we also have a few, growth initiatives. We have a continuous learning platform, and then we have a thought leadership platform that is all under the Greenleaf, jurisdiction. So I'm doing business development marketing for all of those. So I help create and launch all the company growth initiatives. So I do that with the executive board, the CEO and the COO. And then I reach out to authors interested in writing a book, or, may have the credentials to write a book. So I've gotten to speak to some really influential people in in the industry. I've gotten to speak to Fortune 500 CEOs, past athletes, really, famous celebrities, people who are interested in writing books. I've gotten to speak to just so many amazing people in this position. And it's amazing that I'm having to speak to these people. They're nervous about writing a book. They're nervous talking to me. And I'm sitting here nervous talking to this person because they are so credentialed in their area, or they're a rock star person. And it's something I get to do on a day-to-day basis. And I'm so grateful for it. So I get to talk to all the interested authors about the publishing model, about, about what their book would look like being published at Greenleaf, the steps in that, and, everything regarding publishing with us versus, another publisher. And I create, develop, and sustain strategic marketing partnerships. So that includes our imprint. So we have 2 imprints with major business publications, Inc. and Fast Company. So I get to handle those company initiatives, which is really, really cool, because those are huge business publications. And if y'all have heard of the Inc. 500 and things like that, those are the people that I am, I'm getting to communicate with on a daily basis, which is just surreal. It's awesome. And so anything that regards bringing in new business to drive revenue to the company is essentially something I oversee. So I juggle a lot of different responsibilities, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So here are just some of my greatest accomplishments. I started the role at Greenleaf in 2008, and then I've been here for almost 3 years. I think we're at like the 2.5 year mark. So I was promoted from manager to director at my 2 year mark in August. So I'm the youngest director at my company. I've created $10.9 million in value through a bunch of different scalable revenue driving initiatives. And that has yielded a 3-fold increase in submissions in 2.5 years. So submissions are, authors submitting books to us, and that directly correlates to service revenue if the book is accepted. And so I oversee everything that's bringing in submissions. So I launched marketing initiatives, and I launched a new growth initiative in 2019, and I was the marketing lead for our 2021 growth initiative as well. I was nominated by my CEO as a Publishers Weekly Star Watch honoree, and that's where Publishers Weekly, which is a pretty big name in the publishing industry. They get tons of submissions every year for nominations, and they select 40 of people in North America who are basically like rising stars in the industry. And I was so lucky to be honored as one of those this past year in 2020. I launched our health and wellness imprint within 3 months at the company. I launched our female forward imprint in 2021. That was launched a couple months ago. I grew our partnering imprints with Inc. and Fast Company magazine by 40% and created about $1.3 million in revenue in 2 years. I delivered a consistent and robust line of submissions during 2020 during COVID-19, the pandemic, which converted to $4.6 million of closed service revenue by the sales team. And that actually was really a big help in keeping the company afloat during the pandemic. So super proud of that. I grew our social media impressions by 10% month over month for a year straight. I've spoken and fostered relationships with some incredible thought leaders, athletes, etc. Like I said before, I get to speak to some amazing people on a day-to-day basis. I've developed my own thought leadership capabilities, like speaking at events, contributing articles, being invited to speak on panels, podcasts, and things like that. It's just been an amazing ride so far. And I'm so excited to talk to you guys about how to do similar things and really make your mark at your company. So here are some of my tips. So landing your job. First of all, apply for lots and lots of jobs and send a cover letter. So I do the hiring for my, for my department, and we don't even consider applications that don't have a cover letter. So that is so important. And remember, a cover letter can either make or break your resume. So if it's not well written, if it's not catered to that position, it's got, I'm not going to say don't bother. It has to be. So make sure that you are adjusting your resume with keywords to that specific job that you're applying to. And then also your cover letter, it has to show that you're passionate about working at the position. Don't make it cookie cutter. Really show your personality through your cover letter, because when I'm going through and reading cover letters, I can tell which ones have been copy pasted. I can tell which ones have just, haven't been even looked at for the position. And please, if you are applying for the position, spell the hiring manager's name right. If you know their name, please spell their name right, because it is the first thing we see. If you address us as the wrong name, or if you have misspelled the name or the company, automatic no. So really, you've got to be detail oriented, especially if detail oriented is on your resume. Please be detail oriented. So go to every interview. Trust me on this. Even if a job doesn't seem like it's the right fit, it might be in person. I applied for so many jobs that I thought were absolutely it. And then I went in and interviewed, and just the environment was off. I didn't like the culture. I didn't like, the hiring managers either didn't know how to answer the question about company values, or they just weren't value synonymous with my own. And just, going on every single interview you're invited to, it's a lot of work, yes, but it builds your confidence. It really makes you practice, because as seasoned you may be in interviewing, it's always a pretty arduous process. And the more you do, the more you're going to be comfortable. So even if you're not ready to take a job, if you're still, in graduate school and you're like, I'm not going to graduate for 3 or 4 months, still apply for jobs, go on interviews, because all it's going to do is give you practice and help you prepare for one that you actually want. So like I said, apply for the job, but apply for jobs even if you think they're a little bit outside of your credentials. If you think they're a little bit of a stretch and you might be a little bit underqualified, apply anyway. The worst thing they can say is no. But like within reason, don't go apply for a CEO job that you obviously are not credentialed for. But I'm talking about, if you have 5 years experience and they're asking for 8, or ones that you may think are outside your range, apply anyways, because they might see something in your experience that will directly correlate to what they're trying to do. So if you don't have, really great experience, beef up your resume with certifications. Certifications are huge. You can get online certifications so easily nowadays, and they are so beneficial. I've taken about 8 marketing certifications from HubSpot, from Google, and they are so, so, so useful. And they really help your resume shine, especially if you don't have a lot of experience down your belt. Like I have looked at a bunch of different resumes, and I've seen, the ones who didn't have a lot of experience, but they did have they either did consulting or freelancing, or, a lot of certifications, and that really helped them kind of stand out in that regard. I can't say this, but be prepared for every job interview. Really do the research. Come to the job interview knowing the company background, knowing the company competitors. Be ready to answer questions about the company, because we can tell if you're underprepared for an interview. And if you care about an interview, even if it's not one that you particularly want, always be prepared for every single interview, because it shows if you're unprepared and if you can't answer questions. And always ask the interviewer questions. The biggest disservice you can do yourself is saying, I don't have any questions. You're also interviewing them. The biggest questions I like to ask are, what does success look like in this position? How is success measured in this position? Really understand what they want from you, and really understand, and you're going to just edge out the competition by having these questions to say that you really want the role. I want to succeed in this role. What are the KPIs? How are they measured? What does success look like in this position in the first 6 months, in a year? I have strategies that I can help implement. Really do your research and really come to that that interview prepared. Always, always send a thank you note. Just do it. It helps you stand out. Try not to fidget when you're interviewing. I know with virtual, it's a little bit easier, but we notice knuckle cracking. We notice anxiously looking around, and we notice when you're fidgeting or you're like fidgeting in your chair. It's really distracting. So try not to do it so much. Really watch your filler words, such as like, I know we all say them from time to time, but if every second word is a filler word, we notice that. Talk about your relevant experience that are closest to the job requirements. So when you're talking to, let's say, a marketing director about a marketing position, and you're relaying all your direct experience to, let's say, being an assistant at a job that's not relevant to marketing. Yes, we're going to understand that that's how you learn how to multitask and things like that. But if you have relevant jobs that apply more to a marketing position, talk about those. If you don't have any relevant, directly relevant job experience that directly correlate to the job, you can talk about, graduate school and working with groups and things like that, but try to make it relevant to the position that you're applying to, and don't, relate to things that won't add up to the position. Just so think about that a little bit. And then once you land the job, so I cannot stress this enough, time management. No director or no hiring manager has time to teach you how to time manage. You should know how to do that. If you are in school, you should be learning how to manage your time effectively. And so when you come into a position, be willing to learn, but also know how to manage your time effectively and efficiently. Even if you are not, even if you don't have that much experience and you're, starting at the bottom, whatever, time management is a skill that you are going to thrive if you have. If you have effective time management, that is going to showcase a lot. Just trust me on this one. That is such a substantial skill to have. So focus on your thought leadership. Like I said, read books, apply to speak at conferences, take courses, contribute articles like to publications outside of, where you're working. Really build your portfolio that will A, help beef up your resume, and B, make you look more, build up your professional portfolio for A, applying for jobs, and B, make you invaluable at that company. So make sure to speak up. You were hired for a reason. Your ideas are the reason that they want to hire you. They see potential in you. Speak up, ask questions, share your insights, share your ideas. They want to hear what you have to say. Always pursue continuous learning. So always keep learning, take courses, apply to speak at things, but always keep learning and build relationships with other departments and really learn from them and what they do. That will honestly just help you in this position. Take advantage of opportunities. So if you are working somewhere and another department asks for your department's help or volunteers for help, always do it. Go on the marketing, go on the networking opportunities, work with cross collaboration. That is only going to help you, A, build stronger relationships and stick out and make yourself an asset in that company. Really try. Obviously, you want to establish yourself the whole time when you're in that company, but you have to hit the ground running. Learn as much as you can, be a sponge, soak up all the information you can, but really make your mark, especially within that first 6 months. Ask a lot of questions. We love questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because if you don't understand something and you do it incorrectly, where you could have just asked a question, that's going to show volumes about again, your time management and your effective work communication as well. So be proactive, be a self-starter, but also be collaborative. No one likes to micromanage. No one I know is a fan of micromanaging. You've got to be a self-starter, and you've got to be able to work with teams and collaborate as well. Learn from your mistakes. Don't dwell on them. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody, when you're coming into a role, it is a learning curve. You're going to have a lot of learning opportunities. So if you make a mistake, it's fine. Everybody's made one, but A, don't make the same mistake again. And B, don't dwell on it. Everybody makes mistakes, but really learn from it and then move on. You have the skills, you were hired for a reason. So you've got to show them what you've got, especially just try to make your mark as soon as you can. and take initiative. Don't wait for things to come to you. Really go out. If you have an idea, bring it up to your supervisor. My direct supervisor is my CEO. I've come to her with countless ideas that she's just put the green light on, and I've got to run all by myself. So take initiative. If you have something you think would be an advantage to someone, speak up. Don't wait for things to come to you. You have to go after what you want. So I know I chatted for a while now. It is time for questions.
Well, one thing I'm going to do before I turn off the recording, because I think there's an important question that you'll be able to answer that will be beneficial for everyone. I wanted to ask you, you've had slides on landing your job and what to do once you start your job, but some people are a little nervous because they think, I don't know where to look. I don't know where to find my job in order to land it. And you did so even as an undergraduate. So could you give some advice to folks that feel like I'm too new? What do I do? Can you give advice on how they might look for jobs while they're still in graduate school and how to find those opportunities?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are so many different ways that you can find positions. Networking is a big one. That was unfortunately not really the case for me because a lot of the networking opportunities were for San Antonio positions. I still went to all of them because that's just a good way to network, learn how to build relationships. But a good way to do that is through LinkedIn. If you have someone who is working in a position that you would want to work in, or someone who is a recent graduate that you think you could benefit from connecting with, shoot them a message on LinkedIn. I actually did that a few times for people who worked at spaces like Amazon and a bunch of different companies in Austin, and ended up getting some really sage advice from different individuals on how to apply for jobs, how to stick out, blah, blah, blah. And so LinkedIn is a huge, huge resource. Also, hiring managers all live on LinkedIn. They're all trying to find people. So when they put out a job post, there's such an easy way that you can go find who the hiring manager is for that job, connect with them directly. And they, and ask them, I am really interested in this position, would love to connect. And then they will connect with you. You can send a follow-up message, and then they'll either revert you to, fill out the application, which you'll already be in their minds, or they'll, maybe want to take a look at your profile and then set up an interview with you. So LinkedIn, huge resource. And make sure your LinkedIn matches your resume. So make sure your LinkedIn is built up and it directly matches your resume, but everything is on LinkedIn, job postings, hiring managers, but don't just go to the job posting, try and find who the hiring manager is. It's really easy to do. There's a way on how to do it. You basically, I'm going to explain this the best I can. You basically go to the job posting, go to people on the tab, and then type in the company, and then type in the keyword of the job position, and it'll show who the hiring managers are, or it'll directly take you to the job posting, which has the hiring manager on it. And so directly, connect with them, because worst thing they can do is not accept the connection, or, and in most cases they do accept the connection. And so you have another step forward on that connection with someone, or someone who works there. If you know someone who works there, connect with them and ask them, would you like to grab coffee or things like that? Because they're going to tell you what, the hiring managers are looking for in potential hires. And for other ones, always put in listings on LinkedIn, not on LinkedIn, but on Indeed and on Glassdoor. You can put in filters, and they can send all the job postings to your email every day. That's actually how I found the one at Greenleaf. It was an Indeed one, and I saw it come in directly through my email. They asked for a cover letter, and again, if they ask for a cover letter, always send one. Even if they don't, just always send a cover letter. And so I filled in all the filters on LinkedIn and on Indeed and on Glassdoor, what I wanted to work in, and a bunch of different ones. So every time, every morning, I got all the new job listings and apply for everyone. Yes, it's going to take time, but you have to adjust your resume for the keywords that are in the job posting, because now everything's done through AI. Not, with a lot of jobs, hiring managers aren't looking at resumes firsthand anymore. AI filters them, and then they shoot them over to the hiring manager, and they scour them for keywords. So make sure your keywords match the job description and the job posting.
That's super. Thank you. And that's great that there are 3 different places that people can kind of scan things.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stop the recording so that way people will be able to ask other questions and you can have a candid conversation.